Welcome. It is Sunday noontime here in the States Central Time where I'm located, but wanted to welcome everybody to our Bridge City Sunday session, our weekly touch point for connection, community, and conversation. Welcome everybody who might be joining on YouTube. You might be viewing us through the global campus, the Bridge City Global Campus. You might even be catching us during a local watch party. If so, welcome to you and to all your friends. And of course, you might just be catching this sometime in the future, watching the replay. In any case, we are glad you are here because, of course, our mission around here is we want to help people connect better, build better, and live better. And I've got the sweatshirt to prove it. So I also have a friend of mine checking in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Welcome, Mark. How's your Sunday morning going?
It's been going well, thanks. Yeah, it's been nice, warm, as always.
Yeah, no
Sunday
need
morning.
for a sweatshirt here in Mississippi either. So
yeah, no, for sure. So I just wanted to welcome everybody this morning as well, and just reinforce our values for our community of that we are forward-thinking, people-centric, and life-affirming, and today's talk is, again, it's on the reciprocity theme. And I think that this talk is going to be more about what feeds us and how we feed ourselves, like what we do either in our lives to help grow and feed ourselves and to create community. We have this reciprocity is about giving back, and it's a give and take always, and it's important to look at what we're doing to either give back to the community and also what that does to help ourselves as well, because we want to just make sure that is the point to help each other grow.
Mark, it just hit me that you can't spell reciprocity without Y, which that shouldn't be any huge surprise to anybody. But that's Bridge City's Y is because people matter, and so that's what we're going to be. You'll be part of today is a conversation, where you're going to be exposed to some really honest thinking, some shared responsibility. We're really trying to make some intentional connections and also create some opportunities to reflect. Mature reflection is one of the goals of our Sunday session. So anybody who's visiting, you're absolutely welcome here. No pressure here. And the other cool thing about our community is that you don't even have to agree with everything. That's not a secret around here. We really just we value your presence in the conversation.
Yeah, we definitely want to extend a welcome out to specifically our first-time guests, anybody who's joining us for the first time. We are glad that you're here, and we hope to hear from you and add to the conversation. Your presence here makes a difference.
Yes, and if you notice that QR code on your screen, will give you access to a free gift. Okay, so you're a guest. We want to make sure you feel welcome, and part of feeling welcome is to be offered a gift. So it's not. It's essentially our hospitality, our attempt to have some virtual hospitality. You can check that out whenever you're ready to scan it.
I also want to extend a welcome to our existing members, our current members, and just note that community is built through intentionality, and we connect through participation. So just looking forward to seeing you guys in the community, meeting, talking, and participating in the conversations. We love to have you listen, but we build a community through participation. We look forward to hearing you in the community.
And there'll be plenty to talk about with the main theme being reciprocity. I know, Mark, you've really dug into this. I kind of caught it at the very tail end, but you've been making some really cool graphics on the theme of reciprocity. So clearly, this is resonating with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things that was interesting. some of the stuff that was coming out of that is just that um, there's sort of the meal of ideas and the people that we surround ourselves, the things that feed us, are very important. And if we're engaging in, I don't know, doom scrolling or
Right. Yes.
or gossip and stuff like that, um, what are you have to ask yourself, what am I building here? What am I doing? Is this helping me? Is this hurting me? Because these things, um, how you feed yourself makes a difference on how you are going to interact with everybody else and interact with the world. And I think that
Right.
that was that's a really important notion of, like, when we're sitting down to the table and uh, figuring out, what is it that I'm going to be bringing to that table, and what is
Right.
it that I can take away from that. So
Yeah. And what are you consuming while you're at the table? Because we were talking about that last week. What's your media diet? And as you were talking about, it's so easy to get into doom scrolling, and that actually tends to reinforce people who already are sort of feeling stuck and isolated and perhaps overlooked. Quite often, whatever they're consuming can actually reinforce some of that stuff, and we're trying to get out of that. We want to essentially share how life can really open up when you're participating and contributing
yeah.
and connecting in a community.
So, and this is a question that we're putting out to everybody. In what area of your life do you need better reciprocity? And maybe I think we can also expand that to, like, um, just this notion of, what does reciprocity mean to you in this respect as well? Because, like, where can you where can you build better for yourself?
Right. And in my mind, it's my closest relationships. Obviously, I'm married and I've got kids, and I've come to appreciate it over time. It's not something that on day one of my marriage that I realized. Oh yeah, you actually have to kind of give back some. And actually, it's been a sign of my own maturing. And I think my relationship maturing in the sense that I've had a better understanding of the reciprocity kind of that makes my connection with my wife very, very strong. So
Yeah, I mean, that always will build any relationship. Just that, having that proper give and take with
yeah.
things.
Well, if anybody wants to chime in, you're welcome to drop a message in the comments, and we'll move on to some of the news that's happening here around Bridge City this week.
Yes. Yeah. So, again, my name is Mark Russell. I'm one of the coordinators here at Bridge City, um, and we just wanted to again welcome you in. And we have a few things to talk about today. Yes, Bob?
Yeah. And I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Bob Swanson, and I'm a helper on the production club, and I also am kind of heading up the children and family division of Bridge City. So, parent, I'm a teacher, I'm a children's entertainer as well. So, some of the building community and building a secular community is really important to me, and we're glad that everyone is joining us live today.
Yeah, so let's get on to the news. First thing is, we want to ask you to make sure that you visit the global campus. Do we have the? Oh yes, you do have the QR code up. Great, excellent. Um, this is it is a work in progress. We're definitely still under construction, but one place you can start with is the lobby, which you can find a link at the very top of your screen. And in there, you will find things like the Welcome Center, an event center, a business center, and some other areas. Welcome Center is a good place to start, to kind of take a look, introduce yourself, and just kind of check things out.
And there's plenty to explore, and I will direct people to perhaps getting hooked into a connection circle. That's a chance to sort of have a guided tour of the campus and all the different things that are available to you. There's another thing that's really cool is our small talk, which I think we've got. I think the financial literacy one is coming up. That's I think that's a small talk. These are just community member-led areas of interest that might be interesting to those who are kind of new to the campus. Just to know that there's actually some kind of interesting stuff that's being discussed and that you can be part of. And of course, you don't have to do it alone. You can actually have other folks join you in exploring not only the campus but also just checking out our Sunday session. So if you're not familiar with a watch party, that's essentially what it is. So if you ever watched a Sunday session and thought, man, it would be so nice to share this with other folks, well, there's no reason why you can't. It can be just done in your home. It's a small gathering in person where you get a chance to watch the Sunday session together, and then of course engage in some conversation, either live, in our comments and as part of the conversation. But of course, obviously, there's no reason why it can't extend to just your local, your small group. Get a chance to talk about some of the major themes that are discussed as part of the conversation.
Yes, definitely. And watch parties are just the first step. We're not to a fully launched campus. If you're curious and not quite ready to lead anything, a watch party is probably a good way to start, and just a small step to get there. The next item we have is we have a movie night coming up. We are going to be watching God's Not Dead. That's going to be on
the first Sunday of July, right?
Which will be this. What is the first?
That's July 5th.
5th. Thank you. I was looking for my calendar here. So we have the movie night coming up. I am actually not that. I'm somewhat familiar with the God's Not Dead series. I haven't actually. I don't think I've ever watched one of those through. Have you seen any of that, Bob?
No, I've never actually seen it. One thing I should mention about our movie nights is that not only do we watch the movie together, but then of course we kind of live comment. But there's also usually a host. Mark, in fact, was the host of our most recent movie night. And I didn't get a chance to hang around for the discussion, but usually there's a discussion afterward. How did the discussion go?
It was a good discussion. Yeah, we talked for like an hour after.
Oh wow, that's terrific.
So, it was a good discussion.
So I'm actually excited to see The God's Not Dead because I have not seen it, but I did see Kevin Sorbo in a commercial for some sort of hashtag Patriot flag cell phone that he's hawking. So I saw that on TV last night. But he's of course the star of The God's Not Dead, at least the original movie. So I'm anxious to see that one. We also have clubs, so we've got we got all kinds of things. We got the global campus, we got the movie night. We also have clubs, and so last week and this week we'll point out the Deconstruction Club. I also wanted to mention the music club because the music club is a very vibrant club. Music club is getting together to write songs together, and in fact, they're in the process of putting the finishing touches on a song for this current series about reciprocity. But of course, there's going to be opportunities for the next series. And so there's actually going to be a songwriters meeting, I believe, this Tuesday. So Jude is the brains behind the music club and running those songwriting sessions. And so that's kind of
it's not just songwriting because it's also performance or just if you just are really into music. I think that it's a very welcoming place to check things out. So.
Awesome. Well, welcome again to all of our new members. I believe that the number was, we've had like 20 new members in the past month or so. So, to those new members, welcome. And, we always recognize that joining any kind of community can be always a little bit challenging, especially for those that may have been moving out of a religious community, and maybe joining a new community may be the last thing that you thought you'd wind up doing. But I think at the end of the day, speaking for myself, I'm a human, and humans seem to enjoy community, and so that's what we're trying to attempt to build here is a a community without the superstition. And so thank you for finding us, and welcome. Hope that you find your experience here to be a very welcoming one.
So, and also, like, if you're looking for community and you're just need some affirmation, you could also check into our wellness club check-in on Tuesday.
Thank you. Yes, that's very good. Yeah.
So that's Tuesday afternoon, Eastern time. It's 4 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's which makes it what 1 p.m. Pacific or something like that. I don't know. We have people all over the world, so I don't really. I know that these times just are so relative to wherever you happen to live. But again, just welcome to our new members. We'd just like to point you to our new member area to introduce yourself.
Yeah, please introduce yourself. That is that's important. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be your entire life story, but just let us know where you're at, and, where you're joining us from, and I guarantee you're going to find some folks that are going to chime in, or they might even be close to you geographically, and of course, or might just have some other connections, and that's a nice way of immediately starting to make some friends on campus.
Yeah, I've been there's a couple of members down here in South Florida. There's some in Central Florida that I've met in person. About to go up to Chicago, hopefully meet a few of the members up there. So, like, if you're traveling around, or if there's somebody nearby, it's always worth it to reach out, say hello, and maybe meet up when you're there.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. And once you've kind of joined in and started to kind of kick the tires of the community, then get involved. And so one way is to get involved is to volunteer, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Explore. So we have a number of teams that do different work within the community. Some things related to just the production of things on Sunday, like what we're doing today. There's all kinds of other ways that you can be involved, just leading in a special interest, or even just absolutely participate in any of the clubs and the areas as well.
So it kind of says there, find your fit. Is there a special talent, a special area of interest of yours? That's good questions to ask yourself. What area of community building do you naturally care about? For me, like I said, I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, so I kind of gravitate toward thinking about the next generation and teaching critical thinking skills and that sort of stuff. But if you're a behind the person, a people person, creative, an organizer, a support person, there's all kinds of roles, and there's plenty of work to be done, so we can use as many hands as we can get.
Yeah, absolutely. People dealing with how our member experience and missions and events. We are, still, as we said, this is a work in progress. Still a lot of formative stuff to try and figure out exactly how this all comes together. And that's where we need help, not just in running things that we are specifically know that we're going to be running, but maybe you also have some ideas of exactly how to improve the community, and we'd be very happy to hear you and see what you have to say.
Right. Yeah, always looking for good ideas. Or of course, we're also looking for resources. So not only do we need kind of some sweat equity and some volunteers to help out with the work that needs to be done, but we can also use some financial support. And that's where Giving Tuesdays comes into place. So every second Tuesday of the month, we call Giving Tuesday. We don't have tithes in this community. It's not like your regular church. You have to put the we don't pass the plate around, that sort of thing. But this is a voluntary contribution to take care of expenses here for the community, which include just the basic infrastructure, but also we do have some projects. We are trying to become a 401c3 nonprofit organization. Of course, that requires legal fees, and so some of that money will go to support those efforts.
I think it's 5.
Any contributions. I'm sorry. You can tell I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax guy, but 501c3. Thank you.
401, some bunch of numbers. But yeah, if of course, if you can help out, we could use the financial support, but this is uh, not. There's no pressure. If you are able to, and you feel generous, giving intentionally to the community, it helps us out. So thank you for those who do, and hope to well, we hope to see you on campus no matter what. So let's see this. Let's take a look at the just a wrap up of things. If you again, welcome. Visit the global campus when you have a chance. Explore maybe hosting a watch party, or I don't if somebody has a watch party in your area, to join them. Uh, Join movie night this upcoming the 5th of July. Check out our clubs. Of course, welcome new members in, and introduce yourself if you are new. Try and come and get involved, and when you can, support through Giving Tuesday.
And I guess I should have mentioned, if anybody is hosting a watch party, make sure to take some pictures and share those to the community, because I think that the community building is kind of contagious. So
Also,
feel that.
Let people know that you're doing that too. I think.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. Well, whether you're watching alone or if you're a part of a watch party, our stream is about to start. So please share the stream on your social media, like and subscribe it as always. And yeah, we're going to turn it over to Darante to get our conversation rolling this Sunday session.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bob and Mark. This has been great this morning. So great having you all here, everyone. I hope you're doing wonderful. I just absolutely love sitting back and watching kind of our morning news, our kind of morning opener. It's so incredible just seeing how our community is growing, seeing you all in the chat. Actually having some time to participate in the chat myself is a little impression, is a little refreshing. I love it. Jeremiah says, and I don't know if y'all can see, Jeremiah is watching on the global campus, and he says, "How can I find a watch party to join?" Y'all hear that? That means we got work we need to be doing. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you're all having just a magnificent Sunday. I am so excited about this series that we are in. We started it last week. Man, because we have this opening news stuff, I normally put a few notes in that I want to hit. But Bob and Mark did such a great job of hitting it, because I was going to talk about the music writing session workshop that's coming up on Tuesday. So you get to hear it again, man. You get to hear it again. So make sure you check that out. If music is your thing, whether that's writing music, performing music, producing music, I believe this new song that we're working on for the Reciprocity series even got some rapping in it. So listen, if music is your thing, no matter which genre of the spectrum you come from, you're probably going to want to get connected with our music club and our budding social arts team. So I'm super excited about that, super privileged for just having some incredible people who are a part of this mission and a part of this vision. And of course, if you're interested in any more things like that, man, we have tons of events going on, but you got to get on the campus and check that events page to find out. And of course, man, if this is your first time here, we got a gift that we want to put in your hand. It's just our way of saying thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere, like literally anywhere. And the truth of the matter is, you might be anywhere right now, and yet you're still finding a way to share a little bit of your time with us. And so since you're sharing your time with us, we at least want to share this little gift with you, talking about reciprocity. Look, it's your first time here and you're already getting something for it. Isn't that goodness? That's just humanity at its finest. Somebody just type reciprocity in the chat. Reciprocity in the chat. Before we kind of jump into this, man, Bob said something that really stuck out to me. And he said, what area of community building do you naturally care about? And oh my goodness, for our member experience team and our missions and events team, like I want that statement to be stamped somewhere. what area of community responsibility, what area of community building do you naturally care about? I think the people who are the most engaged in what we're doing now are engaged through the areas of community building that they naturally care about. Zernial absolutely cares about the work that we do, but he cares about it from a production standpoint. Ashley absolutely cares about the work that we do, but she cares about it from an operational relationship standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Jude absolutely cares about the work that we do, but she cares about that area she cares about it from the area of music. You know, that's what area of community building do you naturally care about? Like that's when you join Bridge City, I want that to be the question on your mind. Like, no, not just what do I want to consume? What area of community building do I naturally care about? I don't want to get into today's topic a little too early, but I'm Bob, you almost had me preaching, so thank you for that. And again, that's what I love about this community. The more people we have at the table, the more minds we have at the table. It ain't always just about having hands and feet, man. It ain't always about having mouths to feed. Many times it's about having minds to think. And I love the thinkers that we've been attracting to this community. All right, so welcome in everybody. We've kicked off a new series last weekend, and this one was voted on by the members of our community, and we're calling this one Reciprocity. We actually voted on two series. This month we're doing Reciprocity, and next month we're going to be doing something we're calling Head Canon. And I'm gonna go ahead and warn you, I don't think y'all are ready for that. But this one we're calling Reciprocity. Throughout the entire month of June, we're going to be focused on the idea that life is not something you passively receive, but something you actively co-create through reciprocal engagement. What you invest in relationships, community, and even personal growth directly shapes what you experience in return. And I think this conversation is so important for so many different types of people, regardless of what your background is. But let's talk about it for a moment. If your background is superstition or religious superstition, religious supernaturalism, then you've already been groomed to kind of have this approach towards life where I pray and things happen, you know, or I worship and things happen. Or I praise until I'm indignant, you know, and things happen, you know. But then maybe you didn't come from a churchy background. Maybe you came from a different background, but the supernaturalism was just as strong. You know, if I just believe the right things, then the right things will happen in my life. Yeah, or even if you know, if I just be a good person, you know, what goes around comes around. Last week we talked about this as the vending machine mindset. And in last week's conversation, life is not a vending machine. Throughout this entire series, we're going to be challenging scarcity and entitlement mindsets, replacing them with a systems-based view of human interaction, where contribution, boundaries, and intentional participation generate meaning, opportunity, and well-being. And the goal is, and I gave you this last week, the goal is to move from extraction. What can I get to participation? What can I build, exchange, and one of my favorite ones, sustain. At the end of the day, it's all about sustainability for me. You know, every exchange isn't sustainable. Yeah, every transaction isn't sustainable. Every ecosystem isn't sustainable. So no, I want to know, what can I build, what can I exchange, and most importantly, what can I sustain? How will this be sustainable? And this is emphasizing that fulfillment emerges through mutuality, not isolation. Because sometimes we show up in life, and we kind of talked about this last weekend. Sometimes we show up in life with isolated agreements that weren't mutually agreed on. I got to say it one more time. Sometimes we show up in life with isolated agreements that weren't mutually agreed on, which means I came up with some agreements on myself that I wanted everybody else to be able to honor, but I never brought those agreements to the table for mutual. Y'all ain't ready for this. Listen, the big point is, life becomes richer when we learn how to participate in it with clarity, contribution, boundaries, and mutual care. This is one of the reasons why safety means so much to me. Because if we expect if we expect clarity from people, we have to create spaces where they're safe enough to be clear. You know, when the roads are dangerous, it's really hard to get clear about what's around you. Oh man, clarity is often, I'm not going to say always, but clarity is often a symptom or a side effect of safety. I can get clear because I feel safe enough to think about it. I can actually argue that from a point of sociological evolution as well. But again, the big point is life becomes richer when we learn how to participate. I didn't say nothing about no money. I didn't say nothing about no prosperity. I said life becomes richer when we learn how to participate in it. I don't know what your struggle is. I don't know what it is that you're dealing with in your life, but whatever it is that you're experiencing deficit, shall we say, I just want to remind you, maybe even encourage you a little bit, because you know I come from this preaching background, but life actually becomes richer when we learn how to participate in it, but not just participate, but participate in it with clarity. I know why I'm participating. I have clear expectations and I'm clear about my obligations. I'm clearly accountable, clearly responsible, with clarity, with contributions. I know what I'm bringing. With boundaries, I know where the exchange stops. And with mutual care, I'm able to care about people that I know care about me too. Like, no, the care has to be mutual. It got to be mutual. You got to be just as curious about me as I'm curious about you. I can't always be the one asking the questions. Y'all better talk to me out there. Extraction asks, what can I get from this person, this community, this moment, or this opportunity? But participation asks, what kind of exchange am I creating here? What am I bringing? What am I receiving? What am I sustaining? I feel like we talked about this in another conversation before, where we talk about where relationships produce a different type of math, you know. And I ain't even talking about like in a Terrence Howard type of way. Don't do me like that. But relationships produce a different type of math, where 1 + 1 does normally equals 2. But when you're talking about relationships, when you're talking about participation, when you're talking about productive cohabitation, when you're talking about engaging with people on a real level, that introduces a different type of math where 1 + 1 can equal 3 something. Now, y'all don't want to talk to me. This is where 1 + 1 can actually equal 3 and a possible. Have you ever been sitting at the table of spades and you're looking at your hand? It's like, I know I got 1 or 2 clear, but if I can run these 1 or 2 clear the right way, I could possibly make some more things happen on the other side of that. See, participation isn't just what can I get? It's what kind of exchange am I creating here? What am I bringing? What am I receiving? And what am I sustaining? So what we're talking about, and I didn't mean to get all excited this early. Like, we ain't even got to the title yet. So what we're talking about is reciprocity as healthy circulation. Reciprocity as as healthy circulation. Come on now, you got to gamble on the possibles, Life works through circulation. When circulation breaks, people either become drained or disconnected. I want you to just pause for a moment. We still in the intro. I want you to just pause for a moment and think about relationships that broke in your life, and see if you can highlight the point where the circulation started getting strained. When circulation breaks, people either become drained or disconnected. And as we talked about last week, reciprocity is not about keeping the score. It's about keeping life moving. Something isn't moving here because the reciprocity system is broken. And that thing can only be broke down for so long. That pipe can only be rusted for so long before it starts leaking. And see, that's what happens with people when you try to overskip. And this isn't supposed to be a relationship segment. We're talking about reciprocity. But man, when you overlook, when you tolerate reciprocity problems, eventually you start dealing with leaks. Okay, now we're gonna talk. Life works through circulation. All right. So let's get into week two. So I used to do a show on my channel called Bible Study with an ex-pastor. Some of y'all might remember this show. It was wildly popular and represented my most well-attended live streams. I mean, like, people were really signing up to come, were really showing up to those shows. I initially started doing them with, pre-recording them and then uploading them. And then my work schedule was getting hectic. So I was like, ooh, I'm just gonna have to shoot these right off the dome. And I mean, I had a really good time. I loved it because it was just going through the Bible, and it was very therapeutic for me. It was just going through the Bible and saying all of the stuff that I was wrestling with when I first got introduced to the Bible, and now being able to say it just with none of the filters, none of the religious stuff, none of the respectability politics, none of the doctrinal chains, and just have a good time calling out the bullshit. And that was kind of the tagline: learn the Bible, laugh at the bullshit. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. Like I enjoyed doing that series. I got a lot out, but as popular as it was, I stopped it because I didn't like what it was feeding. Okay. I didn't like the crowd that it was attracting. And this isn't new. This isn't some revelation. I was very clear when I started saying, oh, I got to kind of pivot in how I do stuff, because now it's attracting expectations that I didn't necessarily want to sign myself up for. Like, I didn't necessarily want to be the guy you call when you want to beat up a Christian. That's not, I'm good at it. Sure. Yes, whatever. But that's not necessarily the guy that I wanted to be. And so I really started shifting, because I was just like, oh man, this is even bleeding over into the Discord. And so everybody who shows up is just looking for a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody just fighting each other. And so I didn't like the crowd that it was attracting to the channel or to the community. Like, it wasn't conducive for what we were trying to build with Brit City. And I really couldn't blame the crowd, because they were responding to what I was putting out. Like, I remember recognizing when it was happening. I was in the middle of a live and somebody asked me about, what do you think about such and such Tate? And I was like, I don't know these names. And then, so I'm researching the name of her, and I'm like, would you ask me about this person? I would have been better off never knowing this name. And then I kind of realized, like, the whole point was like, because we got another name that we want you to dunk on. And I was like, oh no, that's not me. But I really couldn't blame the crowd, because they were responding to what I was putting out. And as cathartic as it may have been for many, hell, it was kind of cathartic for me too. I could easily see how the harm could be outweighing the help in a way that I wasn't comfortable continuing to contribute to. I hope that makes sense. Like, I had to sit down and say, because we're talking about reciprocity here, I had to sit down and I said, I'm uncomfortable with what is showing up. And maybe I'm uncomfortable with what is showing up because of what I keep putting out. All right. As fun, popular, and algorithmically attractive grievance content is, it's just not where I want to live. So I realized that the environment I want to live in didn't really exist yet, which meant if it was ever to exist, I was going to need to give it some attention. Okay. And thus, Bridge City has finally found its breathing room to grow. Oh, see, this is so good. Like, I had to pause what was popular and start focusing on what was productive, to find the people who were ready to find an area of community building that they were naturally interested in, to find those people, for the fog of frustration to kind of clear. I hope y'all see where this is going here. Like, Bridge City found its breathing room to grow because I changed what we were putting out. Okay. Whatever receives our time, our attention, our energy, and our care has a better chance of growing. And this is not magic. This is not manifesting. This is not you think it and then you be it. This is ecology. Ecology is the scientific study of how living organisms interact with each other and their physical surroundings. Relationships grow when they are fed. Skills grow when they are practiced. Communities grow when they're participated in. But that works on the flip side too. Resentment grows when it's rehearsed. Isolation grows when it's protected. Oh man, have you ever felt lonely and then realized you've been protecting your loneliness? Y'all ain't ready to talk to me out there. It's like, dang, why am I so lonely? Because you so good at protecting it. Okay, see, like that's a whole no, why am I so lonely? You are so good at protecting your your isolation. Your kung fu is strong when it comes to protecting your isolated self. Y'all are not ready. So let me go ahead and drop today's title so we can jump into this. What you feed is what grows. That's what we're talking about today, because we're talking about reciprocity. What you feed grows. Okay, this is a timeless principle reminding us that whatever we give our attention, our energy, and resources to has a better chance of expanding. Whether applied to habits, mindsets, relationships, community, or even physical plants, the concept is very simple. Neglect causes things to weaken, while continuous nourishment creates the conditions for growth. And I kind of want to sit in that for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I want I want to kind of sit in that for a minute. Continuous nourishment creates the conditions for growth. Like the thing that you want to see grow is going to need continuous nourishment. The places in your life that you want to grow, they're going to need continuous nourishment. See, this is one of the reasons why I love community, and I can't help it. I'm a community developer. This is what I do. This is what I wake up wanting to do. This is what's on my mind. And it's to tell people all of the benefits of community. And one of the biggest benefits of community is that it gives you place and space for continuous nourishment, which creates the conditions for growth. Okay. And I'm not talking about no mumbo jumbo. I think I can. I think I can. It gives you a place to routinely interact with the things that you care about, to routinely interact with the things that mean something about you, to routinely think those thoughts and build those habits. And that is what we call continuous nourishment. And that creates the conditions for growth. So even when you weren't even trying to grow, you look around and be like, oops, my bad. I done came a lot further than I thought I came. Why? Because the conversations that I'm involved with because of community are now giving me opportunity to think about things that I did not have the opportunity to think about before. It wasn't that the opportunity didn't exist, is that community just made it easy. It made it available. It made it present. Okay, we're gonna talk. This is not just motivational language. Psychology and the social sciences have been telling us this for a long time. In behavioral psychology, there's a principle called reinforcement. The basic idea is that behaviors that are rewarded, repeated, or emotionally reinforced are more likely to continue. Okay, just think about that, but real quick. Behaviors that are rewarded, repeated, or emotionally reinforced are most likely to continue. Like sometimes, and it's just coming from some of my previous observations when I was a pastor, you'd have parental issues where the parent says, like, I don't know where they get this behavior from because we never behaved this way. And it was like, you may have never behaved that way, but you applauded behavior like that in front of them. Okay. It's the basic idea that behaviors that are rewarded, repeated, or emotionally reinforced are more likely to continue. So if I keep rewarding my anger with attention, my anger learns how to stay alive. How many of you really good at feeding your own anger? You just bring your own anger with you, and you can feed that thing like it's nobody's business. Just be like, you can get the Guinness Book of World Record for being angry the longest because you know how to feed it. You know how to keep giving it that attention. If I keep rewarding avoidance with comfort, then avoidance becomes easier to repeat. I'm just more comfortable this way. Oh, that's so good. No. Ooh, okay. See, like, this ain't supposed to be this deep. Yeah, I promise you it's not, because we're still technically in the B clause of the introduction. But anybody out there, like, let's just be honest. Anybody out there, have you been practicing avoidance, calling it comfort? Watch this. Practicing avoidance, calling it self-care, robbing yourself of clarity of yourself and others. If I keep rewarding outrage with engagement, outrage becomes a part of the routine. It was like, oh, you know what? I ain't pissed myself off today. Let me make sure I find something. Let me make sure I scroll until I get something that makes me feel justified in my outrage, because I got to keep that thing lit. Our brains and bodies are constantly learning from what we repeatedly practice. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Our brains and bodies are constantly learning from what we repeatedly practice. That's what, like, when behaviors show up in your life that you're not proud of, but they keep showing up, I think what you got to ask yourself is, why am I so good at this? And I'm like, dang, this thing just keeps showing up. Even when I'm not trying, this thing just keeps showing up. Why am I so good at this? Because this comes from a place of repeated practice. I've been practicing this for a long time. You know? Now, you good at rolling them eyes and snapping that neck or whatever else. Why? Because I repeatedly practice this. Oh, man. This connects to the idea of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to change through repeated experience. See, I don't want to sound like a coach, but if you change what you practice, you'll change what you perform. You know, like, I don't want to, like, listen, this isn't mumbo jumbo. This is some basic stuff. No. The patterns we rehearse become easier to access. The thoughts we return to become more familiar. The emotions we keep feeding become more available. You say, I don't know why I keep choosing relationships that are unhealthy. Well, because all of your favorite songs are about unhealthy relationships. This is what you feed yourself. Oh, man. No. No, when the breakup comes, you go and listen to the breakup song. Now, no, this doesn't mean that we can magically think ourselves out of every problem, but it does mean that repetition matters. And we have to sometimes start dealing with, like, oh man, how frequently am I exposing myself to this repeated pattern that I don't necessarily want to see repeated in my life? Social science helps us understand this at the community level. Communities are not built by beliefs alone. You know, again, from a person with 2 decades in ministry experience, many of the people who hold religious beliefs or who hold religious patterns of belief, many of the time that they have nothing to do with the beliefs themselves. No, churches are rarely built on beliefs. They're built by repeated participation, shared attention, common practices, and sustained investment. A community grows when people keep showing up, keep contributing, keep listening, keep building, and keep choosing to feed connection instead of extraction. And so what I want to say here, and forgive me for sounding a little preachy, but nothing happens on accident. Not for the most part. No, we talking about some stuff right here. Why do I keep showing up like this? Why is this an area that I'm not doing the ways that I think I used to do? See, I used to just put all of that in the area of mystery. You know, it was this mystery and God and magic and angels and karma and something beyond my understanding. And while I'm in no way suggesting that everything is in your understanding now, I am suggesting there are more things we can understand about what's showing up in our lives than we thought we could. Okay. There's also more ways to understand why we don't see certain things. We say, man, where is community? Well, a community grows when people keep showing up. See, that has to be, oh, dang. Okay, this is like a new members class right now, real quick. That has to be the first thing. In order for a community to exist, people got to keep showing up. All right. But then that's just the starting place. See, we're showing up. What makes us different from a crowd? What makes a community different from a crowd is not only that we're showing up, but that we keep contributing. Oh, y'all don't want to talk to me. But then we can't just be contributing. There has to be some type of system of feedback where we are learning from what we are participating in. And that means we got to keep listening. But then we just can't be listening just for the sake of listening. We got to be listening in order to be able to do something, which means we got to keep building. But then at the same time, that also means someone, and that means someone within that community has to take on the intention of keep choosing to feed connection instead of extraction. It's like every day you have a choice. Am I going to feed connection or am I going to feed isolation? And am I going to feed connection or am I going to feed conflict? Am I going to feed connection? I'm just saying. You get a choice on what you're going to feed. Our mindsets and our thoughts work the same way. And this is where we can kind of pull the classic two wolves parable. See, parables don't just come from religion, you know. In the parable of the two wolves, a grandfather tells his grandson that inside every person is a fight between two wolves. Okay. One represents fear, anger, resentment, and doubt. The other represents joy, hope, kindness, and courage. When the grandson asks, okay, which one wins? Because I got one that is fear, anger, resentment, and doubt. And I have the other that is joy, hope, kindness, and courage. And the grandson is asking which one wins. Now, the deeper question here, the question that is platformed by this parable is which one is stronger? Oh, yeah, that's the question. That's the philosophical question that sits at the intersection of the comparisons of these parables. I like words. Yes, I do. That's the question. The question is, which is stronger? Is fear stronger than joy? Or is hope stronger than anger? Is resentment stronger than kindness? Or is courage stronger than doubt? Which one is stronger? This is the question that we wrestle with consistently as a society. Every time you want to do the loving thing, sometimes that question pops up. I don't even know if I should do the loving thing because I don't know if the loving thing is the strong enough thing to make a difference. I don't know which one is stronger. That's a real wrestle that we have as a species. And the grandfather, with his smooth, slick self, gives one of the dopest answers. Oh, see, it's not, neither side is inherently stronger than the other. Strength is a consequence of consumption. Okay? He says the simple answer is it's the one you feed. Okay? So this is a great place to drop kind of to the first question of today's conversation, and that's, what am I feeding? What am I feeding? Hey, when you ask yourself what's winning in your life, remember I told you earlier, remember we were talking and we were just hee-heeing and ha-haing real quick. And I was like, when things show up in your life that you're not proud of showing up, but they just keep showing up, you got to start asking yourself, why am I so good at this? No, how did I get so good at this? I'm so good at it that I'm not even trying, and yet it's here. I think the question to ask at that moment is, what am I feeding? Yeah. And see, and while I love this parable of the two wolves, like I don't think it's two wolves. I don't know about you, but I think maybe I got a few wolves. It might even be a few packs. But the big point is the pack you feed is dang show the pack that will keep showing up, because attention is not neutral. Okay. Attention is one of the ways we participate in our own formation. Sit in that for a minute. Attention is one of the ways we participate in our own formation. Now, I'm not just saying don't look at stuff that makes you mad. I ain't saying that. But if attention is one of the ways we participate in our own formation, is that all that I want to be? See, if I don't like what keeps showing up in me, an easy way to start diagnosing is to start paying attention to what I've been paying attention to. Attention is one of the ways we participate in our own formation. What I keep watching, what I keep rehearsing, what I keep singing, what I keep discussing, what I keep defending, what I keep returning to, what I keep excusing, and what I keep practicing, all of these things have consequence into my own formation. Yeah, I remember going through a phase in my life where I says, no, I have to turn off the news. I got to turn it off. I need to get the Cliff Notes version, because if I stay in this too much, it's going to make me mad at everybody. And the problem is everybody includes people I don't know. Everybody includes people I have not met yet. Everybody includes people that I've developed no conversation with. This is skewing my perceptive of real life in real time. All of it has consequences. Attention is one of the ways that we participate in our own formation. No. I said, you know what? After a while of watching so much television, and I love television, I love movies, I love it all. After a while, I said, Darante, don't you want to watch some things that show people having some healthy relationships? Don't you think having some of that in your arsenal might be helpful? Now, Darante, listen, I know you're not capitalism's biggest fan, but don't you think that while you're living here, you might get some financial literacy while you got to deal with this mess? Y'all don't want to talk to me. Attention is one of the ways we participate in our own formation. See, this is why the question moves from what do I believe into the deeper question of what am I feeding? I think I kind of showed this when I did the bias conversation earlier this week. That bias is often the result of information that we've already fed ourselves. And it's information that we fed ourselves enough of that it has a gravitational effect where the brain says, I know enough about this that I can judge this quickly. Okay. And bias is the basis of belief. And so if I really want to understand what I'm believing, I can start or why I'm believing a certain thing. I can start checking what is it that I'm feeding myself that's supporting those beliefs. Sometimes, and we're talking about reciprocity, we're expecting things to show up in our lives that we're not feeding. Okay. You ever been expecting peace to show up, but peace is not what you've been feeding? I think this is so good this weekend. Oh my goodness. Hey, you ever been expecting love and passion to show up, but hate is what you've been feeding? Expecting financial increase while remaining financially illiterate. No, let's talk. No, let's talk. This is reciprocity. The question is, what am I feeding? In most cases, how we show up in the world is predicated on how we've been feeding ourselves. Conversations are often a doorway into someone's informational diet. The more casual, the more informative. You learn a lot about people and what they watch and what they listen to. You learn what music, movies, jokes, and even news stories occupy space in their minds just in a good old casual conversation. You learn what expressions and emotions that they are comfortable with and not comfortable being around. From my humble observation, it seems that we are consistently and oftentimes predictably living out what we've been feeding on. Have you ever just asked yourself, like, damn, am I living out what I've been feeding on? So if someone is constantly feeding fear, outrage, religious trauma, betrayal, or suspicion, they may become more likely to notice information that confirms those patterns. It's like when you see the red car, you get your first red car, and now everybody has a red car. And it's like, oh man, there is an increase in red car ownership. And it's no, there is an increase in red car awareness. Okay, boy, y'all, this is good stuff. This is good stuff because the brain is learning what to scan for. And this is called attentional bias. This is a good reason why three people can see one image but focus on three different things, because what you see is predicated on what you've given your attention to. So listen, if you've been angry a lot lately and you don't like who you're becoming, check what you've been feeding on. Watch this. If you feel like you've not been angry enough lately and you don't like that about yourself, check what you've been feeding on. If you've been hopeless, ask yourself, where have I been feeding on hope? You know, it's a strange thing expecting to find hope in hopeless places. See, it'd be so funny for us to live amidst all of this consumerism and sometimes don't realize, like, you got to go to multiple places to get what you want. You're not gonna get no chicken from Mickey D's. Not no trustworthy chicken. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Sometimes you got to go to different places to get different things. And I think the scary part is when we're not mindful of the information that we consume, we'll take the space where we go to get awareness, the place where we go to get informed about maybe some of the hard things that are happening in the world. And we'll expect that space to also be the space that gives us peace, to also be the space that gives us hope, to also be the space that gives us identity, and to also be the space that gives us joy. And then we start over-indexing in one area. And now you just fast food eating. I'm not in any way suggesting that this is a one-size-fits-all cure. Our humanity is much too complex for that type of oversimplification. But I am saying that this is a healthy start that nearly anybody can do without any appeal to supernatural or the mysterious. While I cannot change everything about my life instantaneously, I can change a few things about my life incrementally. Yeah. And big doors often swing on small hinges. See, dang, like I feel like I should have named today's talk the reciprocity of me, because this conversation right now is about how do I get better out of me? How do I get better from me? Before I even start talking about how do I get better from my life, how do I get better from me? Before I start talking about how do I get better from other people, how do I get better from my relationships, how do I get better from me? Because if I can get better from me, then I can show up better as me, you know, and that keeps me from demanding something that I'm not participating in. I am talking better than y'all are responding. If I want to get better from me, I've got to put better in me. And I'm not just saying this, y'all. Like, come here, self-perception theory. Self-perception theory suggests that people often understand who they are by observing what they repeatedly do. Now that's self-perception theory. I'm gonna break it down in layman's terms. I'm gonna try to break it down. I'm gonna come right where you at, okay? I'm about to come and sit right next to you on the bleachers. This suggests that you often understand who you are by observing what you repeatedly do. That you look at yourself and you look at your life and you say, this is what I do on a regular basis. Therefore, this is who I am. The suggestion is that we do not only act from identity, sometimes we build identity from repeated action. If I repeatedly feed discipline, I begin to see myself as disciplined. If I repeatedly feel avoidance, I might begin to see avoidance as just who I am. And in many cases, and this is where I like to be clear at, I'm not just wrestling with what I fed myself. Sometimes, and this is for those of you in the back. This is for those of you in the back who showed up late and didn't want nobody looking at you or judging you. Sometimes I'm not just wrestling with what I fed myself. I'm wrestling with other things that I've been fed over the years, which brings us to our second question of the weekend. How have I been fed? Like, no real talk. How have I been fed? How have I, before I was able to start feeding myself, how have I been fed? The self is such an interesting concept to me because in my many years of working with people, I've come to understand that many of us are wrestling with voices that we didn't ask for. Now, I ain't saying everybody, but a lot of people have memories that they didn't volunteer for. Okay, no, I get it. It may not be you, but there are some of us that have some experiences that we still can't comprehend. And what I'm saying is that what's showing up is not always what I fed myself. Some of this stuff I was force fed. Some of this stuff I was exposed to before I had developed a sense of defense. Some of this stuff, all of this stuff isn't my diet. All of this stuff isn't stuff that I put in here. Some of this stuff life forced on me. Some of this stuff life forced me to deal with. Some of these things I had to deal with before I even had language to deal with, before I had any type of autonomy to shape. To pull a quote from James Baldwin, he says, to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. At that moment, he's not talking about what he's feeding himself. No, he's wrestling with what I am forced to feed on because of its pervasive existence. How have I been fed? See, it ain't just what I'm feeding myself. There's certain things that I can't close my eyes to. How have I been fed? There's certain things I was fed so much of as a child that it's just something that I cannot ignore. I'm sorry that it brings triggers for you. I'm sorry that it makes you harder. But these are some things that I got to deal with the question of how have I been fed? That's the question at hand. I heard a pastor say years ago, and it's something that struck to my core. We were at a convention in Austell, Georgia, and the name of it was Leading in Tough Times. And this had to be around 2007. And I heard a pastor say something. It struck me to my core. It hit me so hard that, like, I remember crying uncomfortably so at the table right after hearing the words. And so, trigger warning for some of you that are a little bit more empathetic. Soon as the words hit, I was done. Like, my homie was like, dude, you all right? I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like, that dude just kamehameha'd me, and I didn't expect it. And what he said was, is none of us escape childhood without scars. And I was like, oh, whoa, you touching something deep. He said, none of us escape childhood without scars. I'm glad you made it out alive, but I know it took some wounds for you to get through. None of us escape childhood without scars. The question we're sitting with now is, how have I been fed? Sometimes The loudest voice in your head isn't even your voice. How have I been fed? See, sometimes you showing up to fight battles that aren't even in the room. You ever did that before? You fight and you go, and it's like, hey, is the battle in the room with us? Is it here? No, that's an issue of something I've been fed. Have you ever taken the time to deal with how you have been fed prior to the time you were able to feed yourself? Have you thought about how you were fed, how it may have impacted how you choose to feed yourself? Oh, man. See, some people have a hard time with self-care because they never saw anybody choose to feed themselves with self-care. So now sitting at the table of self-care feels uncomfortable. It almost feels like a betrayal of self. This ain't what we do. Man, have you thought about how you were fed may have impacted how you choose to feed yourself? Let's change the word up a little bit. Have you ever thought about how you were loved may have impacted how you choose to love yourself? See, these are one of those conversations where we all just got to be in the room for a minute. And this brings me to our third question of the weekend. And that's, when do I update the feed? Okay. Because Darante, you bringing a lot of attention to a lot of uncomfortable spaces. And I'm having to sit with a lot of questions. What am I feeding? How have I been fed? And what if I don't like what I'm finding? Well, see, that leads us to the next question then. When do I update the feed? Whenever you've become dissatisfied with the streaming experience. No, let's go here. Listen, if I'm not enjoying my streaming experience, it's time for me to update my feeding experience. I don't like what I'm streaming. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. Listen. This is what I'm saying. When is it time to update the feed? Do I like what I'm streaming? See, this is the biggest way when you know you need to probably change what you're bringing in is when you do not like what you're putting out. Which means you got to be comfortable enough to be honest with yourself, to be able to sit in that observer seat and say, "Ooh, do I like what I'm putting out? And if I don't like what I'm putting out, maybe it's time for me to change what I'm bringing in. If I'm not enjoying my streaming experience." Just like watering a plant, the routines you practice daily become your dominant traits. If you feed your procrastination or insecurities with validation, they get stronger. If you feed your disciplines and passions with validation, they flourish. What you do, and it's just me, this just me. I ain't nobody's source of truth, just a point of reference. Use it, kick it, look at it, do whatever you want to do, but I'm throwing it out there. Perform an all-out audit on your life. Be completely honest with yourself and ask the hard questions. All right. When I want to do something in my life, what's winning? Procrastination or determination? So those, who's asking you these questions? Where are you going where you get to sit with this level of conversation? And ain't nobody charging you $750 per ticket to tell you some secret that ain't even a secret. No, when I want to do something in my life, what's winning? No, you be honest with yourself. Like, no, what's 10 things I wanted to do? How many of them got done? What's winning? What's winning? When I want to love people in my life, what's winning? connection or conflict? Because maybe what I fed myself makes me more attentive to conflict than connection. And maybe I'm not sure, but if I audit myself and ask what keeps winning, and what keeps winning when I want to support causes that are important to me, what's winning? My support or my cynicism? Man, see, once we can identify what's winning, what's showing up, then we can track it to the source. Where is this undesirable behavior, this ideology or mindset leaking into my feed? Is it through a show I'm watching, a thread I've been following, a memory I keep reliving, conversations I keep having? I remember when I was going through my divorce and at risk of losing my children, and like people using the label as atheist as a reason to say, well, he can't be a father. Like, oh, going through it. And I remember just not being able to sit through an argument in those early days without like yelling and name calling and all of that. And I remember just one of the last times I was like, I don't like that. Have you ever did that to yourself? Just did an inventory on yourself where nobody else has to come tell you something, where you just sit with yourself and be like, ooh, that doesn't really feel like who I want to be and how I want to represent myself. I don't care who liked it. I don't care if there were people who were like, nah, bro, you had a right to be that way. I did not like that. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? But this keeps showing up. This keeps winning. Why am I so good at this? Even to when I don't want to do this, this is what comes out. Why did this keep winning? And I was able to do some tracing and just realizing like, no, dude, in almost everything media wise that you consume around this topic, fathers have to be extreme to show their children that I'm fighting for you. That's the narrative you fed yourself. Not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying that's the narrative you fed yourself, and therefore the narrative you're feeding on. That's the narrative you're responding to. The narrative I was responding to, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm speaking for me, that if your sons don't see you upset about this, they won't think you love them. So you need to go ham. You need to be like beast mode. And it was like, now that I hear that narrative kind of fully thought out, I'm like, maybe that's not the best way to be remembered. Maybe there are some other options that can be considered. I hope this is helping somebody. We start asking, where is this undesirable behavior, ideology, or mindset? Where is it leaking into my feed? And sometimes you got to go deeper than that. It may be a mindset you like. Now, this is just me. I'm an extreme pragmatist. This is how I live my life. It may be a mindset you like. Is it helping? Because I've realized, it's just me. I can't tell everybody else's story, but I realize I also have a habit of liking things that are not helping me. Oh, goodness, this is too good. No, I got a habit of liking a lot of things that are not healthy for me, that are not helping me. And so I have to be mindful of mindsets, behaviors, and ideologies that I like still not being healthy. Okay. Look, I'm looking for those sources so that I can get to work. Let's change that input as much as we can. And watch this and seek professional guidance where it's needed. Now I'm going to change. I'm going to do as much as I can that doesn't require me to run up a bill. And then as soon as I get to that point where I'm like, I think this is beyond what I can do. I've gotten to the end of the pier. I don't see the way forward. This is the moment where I say, now I need professional guidance. I need somebody to walk this with me. Because then I need some different types of inputs. Okay? Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready. The people you invest your time in and the conversations you prioritize are what deepen or weaken what shows up in your life. You ever just start paying attention to your conversations? And I don't want nobody going back and just being like super harsh on all your friends. Please don't do this. But you ever pay attention to the conversations in your life and just start paying attention to what gets celebrated and what gets tolerated? Like, what kind of information when we're talking gets celebrated? What gets us excited? And then what kind of information that if it gets mentioned, it just kind of flatlines and passes away, like one of those things in the Western. I can't even think about what it's called now, but it's that thing. And it goes, whew, 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 whew. It doesn't do that, but that's the sound that's made when it goes. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know. But yeah, it just comes up and go, what gets celebrated in those conversations and what gets tolerated? Because then that's letting you know what's getting fed. What do my groups feed? I'm not saying you can't have no tea and no gossip every now and then. Tumbleweed, thank you, look at the trees. I ain't saying you can't have a little gossip every now and then. Yes, sir. And then at some point, you got to ask like, whoa, is this all we do? There has to be more to this, because this is going to deepen or it's going to weaken what shows up in my life. This is one of the reasons I'm so picky about my conversations. Like I run conversations through like an algorithm in my head. Number one, what does this conversation ask of me? Because even good conversations, I may not have what it takes to contribute to it. What is this conversation asking of me? Do I have the energy? Do I have the time? What is it asking of me? What is the investment going to look like here? That's like one of the first things I think about anytime I'm invited in a conversation. What is this conversation asking from me? What posture am I going to have to show up in this conversation? Am I showing up in this conversation as a sounding board, or am I showing up in this conversation as an advisor? No, what does this conversation ask of me? Because that's going to determine if I really have the emotional energy to be in it. And I like to be fair to people. Sometimes you can be talking to me and I could be responding, and then I have to go back like 15 seconds later and say, hey, I know I said, yeah, but I didn't hear a word you just said. What does this conversation ask of me? And then number two, here's a real good one. Is it something I'm interested in? Well, that one will free your soul. I'm telling you now. It's like, oh, no. I don't have to attend everything I'm invited to. What does this conversation ask of me? Is it something I'm interested in? And this has become an important one for me. How will it impact my streaming experience? How is it going to impact my lived experience? I had a lot of conversations that if I would have asked myself those questions beforehand, I would have been in those conversations. If I would have said, oh, you know what, dang, as important as this conversation is to these people, this is not a conversation that I'd actually prioritize in my life. Talking about getting a little bit of agency. And then second, like, dang, this isn't a conversation that I'm actually interested in. And another, how is this going to impact my streaming experience? Exactly. How does this feed me? How is this going to help me show up in life in a way that I feel is productive, participatory? Because every conversation, every invite, every news bite, every sound clip, and new movie is an opportunity to update my feed and impact my streaming experience. And I'm not saying, listen, there is some ratchet stuff in my streaming experience because sometimes life calls for a little ratchet know-how. All right. All right. But I need enough stuff in my arsenal to be able to navigate my streaming experience. Building skills, saving money, or growing a business requires consistent daily input. Starving your goals of attention leads to stagnation, while feeding them with execution leads to results. And community is no exception. What you feed is what shows up. What you feed is what gets stronger. What you feed is what reaches further. Our power as citizens of a global society is that we can choose to change what we feed. Okay, I'm gonna say it again. Our power is that we can choose to change what we feed. We say eat the rich. I say just stop feeding them. You know, we can choose to change what we feed. Bridge City is an opportunity to intentionally choose to feed bridges to better systems instead of continually feeding broken systems. You get to choose what you feed. And this brings us to the flip side and the final question of this evening. And that is, what am I starving? Equally important is the realization that what you starve will eventually die. What you starve will eventually die. This is actually one of the many ways that people change beliefs or change their ideology. Sometimes it doesn't change because of any real thought process. It changes because the lack of. I just stopped thinking about it for so long that it no longer mattered to me. All right, what you starve will eventually die. So my question for you is, what are you starving? And I want to ask this question in a different way than you've ever been hit with a question before. I want to do this a little differently. I want to ask the question past tense, future tense. Okay? And that is, what have you been starving that you need to feed? And what have you been feeding that you need to starve? No, what am I starving? What have you been starving that you need to feed? And what have you been feeding that you need to starve? How do I know when to feed and when to starve? If it's costing you more than you're feeding it, you might need to consider starving it. I'm feeding this thing a lot and it's still costing me everything. See, this is shifting. Watch this, from the language of punishment to the language of discipline. Punishment asks, what did I do wrong? What I did wrong? What did I get wrong this time? Punishment. Discipline asks, why didn't this get me closer to my goal? Okay. One of the things I decided to starve in my life nearly a decade ago was gossip. And it wasn't like, some spiritual revelation of sin. I defined gossip at that time as the spreading of personal information that I had no personal relationship with. Okay. If its information had nothing to do with my goals and is beyond my scope of authority, then that was gossip for me. Okay. And again, that had nothing about me trying to be holy, nothing about me trying to be righteous or better than anybody. It was literally a utility thing. The information has nothing to do with my streaming experience. It ain't going to improve my goals at all. And it's actually beyond my scope of authority. Like I have no authority there to do anything. Watch this. When I made that decision, nearly all of my phone conversations stopped. And so when I stopped feeding the gossip, when I started starving the gossip, I started redeeming my time. See, if you stop pouring energy into negative self-talk, toxic environments, or counterproductive behaviors, those elements will lose their grip on your life Because check it out. If it's showing up, it's taking up space. And that space could be occupied by something more productive. Now, that's the one thing. Now, it's one thing for something to be showing up and it's costing me, but it's a whole nother thing for something to be showing up and the only good is for is to take up space. Now you're robbing me of what else could be here. So it's a powerful reminder that we hold the reins to our own personal development. And so as we close this weekend, and dang, I did good on time, I want to ask that final question one more time. What are you? But this time, I want to ask it differently. In the same way, I told you I like to ask my questions differently. Watch this. What are you being starved of? And what are you starving this community of? It's the same question. What are you starving? But it's really different questions because this is the community focus. See, what are you being starved of? Maybe it's a friend to laugh at your jokes. Maybe it's just really been a really long time since you've had somebody willing to laugh at your jokes. Maybe it's a group to explore your curiosities. What are you being starved of? Maybe it's just having people to share your good days and your bad days, your goofy self and your serious self. Or maybe it's just a reminder that everybody's not a cartoon villain and that there are some good people in the world who are trying their best to put one foot in front of the other. What are you being starved of? And whatever it is, I've discovered that community is really good at being the answer. It's a life hack in that way. You end up with friends that you never asked for, opportunities that you couldn't have paid for, and a view of humanity worth living for. See, like if you're starving for a better connection, guess what? That's a Bridge City mission point. If you're starving for better ways to build with other people, I have fascinating news for you. That's a Bridge City mission point. If you're just starving for a better life and better ways of living it, oh my goodness, you're going to be over the hills excited. That's also a Bridge City mission point. And so on that end, my message is, don't starve. Come eat. This is your invitation to feed what you've been starved of. But there's another side to this one. What are you starving this community of? And this is where I get really excited, because you've become so convinced that you're a problem that you don't know how to see yourself as a solution. You're trying to get rid of all of your perceived problems, shake off all of your issues because you still believe in perfection before participation. And while you're waiting on a perfection that will not come, somebody else is starving of a presence that you have not brought. Someone is waiting to see your contribution in a club conversation. There's a small group that is waiting for you to think of it and to lead it. There's an entire generation of students and families that are waiting for all of you who are passionate about education and children to fight through the fog and get connected. What I'm trying to say is that you represent opportunities that can't exist without your participation. You keep thinking you need to be perfect when all you really need is to be present. And let me just put you on game real quick and go ahead and set you free. There is no such thing as a perfect solution. All solutions are problematic, including you, including me. There is no such thing as a perfect solution. You are not so exceptional that you're the only one showing up with problems. We are all showing up with our problematic selves and working out our problematic solutions together. And the good news is you're invited to the table, problems and all, because the solutions don't get better until we do. and we tend to get better together. Thank you so much for joining me for week 2 of Reciprocity. I'm kicking it over to the team. Y'all don't go nowhere. This is about to get good.
Always love that. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another Sunday session in our Reciprocity series. I feel like I cheated a little bit. Jude, I don't know if you got a chance to catch Darante's live stream on Wednesday, I believe it was the 10th.
I caught most of it, yeah.
The bias conversation. And I felt like so much of today's conversation about reciprocity really, like these two lives go hand in hand. So, a lot of talk about how bias is formed previously and how it manifests into larger clusters of beliefs. And really like such a good takeaway from that, which we saw a lot in today's session.
I really liked the visual cue he had with that, with the little graphics of showing the gravity of bias, which was really cool.
Completely agree. And I mean, I'm a sucker for a good infograph and plotting graphs, things of that nature. But I will say, like, a big takeaway from that is looking at information as a diet. What are you consuming? And of course, the question that Darante left us all with today, what are you starving? Because we are all problematic in our own ways. Life is always about growth. And I feel like it's these conversations that really make you stop and reflect. Like, what are the things I nourish? Like Kat, you guys saw us in there, me and Jude, engaging and really calling out some of these points, because it really is such a different way to live than we have as humanity in the past. And I think that with the information overload we have from what it was that Darante had said, before we could even feed ourselves what information we were taking in, what data points we were taking in, it's, what is our information diet? What does make us tick? I mean, nowadays?
A lot of those hit close to home because, I was complaining a lot in the chat when he was talking about, have you been feeling lonely while practicing avoidance? And that describes several years of my life.
No, I get that. Like, and I will say, like, definitely for me, one thing I maybe because I want to think of myself as a creative, I tend to overindulge in negative emotions because sometimes those have excellent results in the creative field, especially with music, like songwriting, poems, things like that. So it's one of those moments like you really got to stop and reflect on your actions, your behavior, and your thoughts that leave you in these certain situations. It was a really powerful one today. Like I said last week, I love this series. So much of it is about self-reflection and then recognizing your place in the situations you want to be in, whether it's in a community or whether it's on your own, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your whatever social situation you find yourself in. Reciprocity really touches every aspect of your connections in life.
Yeah, well, and really it comes down to what are you looking for in life? Like, I joined Bridge City because I caught myself practicing avoidance when I was actually really lonely, and I realized that I was scared of trying because I was afraid of rejection. So I started putting myself out there more and engaging with stuff, and not all of it went well, but I found a place where I can do stuff here at Bridge City with people who care.
No, I think sometimes on this note, because it feels like it's in the right vein, I think sometimes with that Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, was there Zoe Deschanel, and how he's just a curmudgeon, sitting in his own sadness, not willing to engage with the world, and then you start saying yes to everything. And I'm not saying you got to do that. That's craziness. But sometimes, like, if you're just not putting yourself out there, you can't be upset when it doesn't come back to you. Like Darante said, it's not about manifestation. It's not about like, oh, if you put your vision board together just right, it's going to happen. It's more about like, what energy are you bringing for yourself, for others, that you expect to be reciprocated? What are your expectations? So it's so many good things to sit and think about. I do hope everyone today takes a moment and reflects on these things. What are you starving? What are you feeding? do you need to change your diet a little bit?
Absolutely. So speaking of Bridge City, if anybody out there is considering and joining us in our at our community, is there a link that we can
So for everyone out there, if you haven't yet, you're thinking about joining Bridge City, conversations like these resonate with you. You have a light bulb moment in one of these, and you're like, I want to keep this conversation going. Which, side note, I'm still thinking about coffee hour sessions. That's still a thing. It's still in my head.
Yes.
But Bridge City is not about gatekeeping. It's not about saying we have all the right answers. It's about getting as many of us together to explore these diverse perspectives and see what we can all share, bring to the table, open up our experiences. So if this conversation helped you find language to talk about, or you just are really interested in a post-religious community, that's what we're doing here at Bridge City. We're discovering ideas together. We're connecting better. Can't help it. I have to say it.
It's a place where we can honestly be ourselves, right?
Honestly and genuinely.
Honestly, genuinely show up as yourself. We've got a whole range of characters, and we're just all here being ourselves and having a good time doing it,
working out our problems together. That like problems being a malleable
we have
word
the
there.
QR code up on the corner of the screen over there now, and drop it in the. Could someone drop it in the chat maybe?
Oh, Darante will get us in the chat.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
In the chat. Z is a character. If you guys join the campus just for Z, just to get some of his jokes if you guys want, because he is a hoot.
He was on a live stream a couple of 2 weeks ago with me.
Oh yeah, when you guys did the panel.
We did
so you
the
guys
panel.
know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Z/Zernial / we have some other nicknames for him that are awesome.
But so hit the link if you want to join us. Hit the link, and then we have a tapping course, which is just a little orientation, show you around how to find your way around the site, and then we have the new member onboarding course, which goes through kind of the values and ideals that we're kind of building the community on, because that's what we're here for. Is we're here to build bridges.
And we're updating these new member onboarding tracks all the time. As Mark had said in the intro, we're continuously growing. We're probably always going to be under construction in some way, because what moves our community and what helps it grow, expand, change, and shift is you guys showing up, participating, giving your ideas. That's what we do here at Bridge City. So if you found any part of this conversation that you resonated, you want to connect better, build better, live better, I definitely recommend checking out Bridge City and tapping in. Now, I will say, of course, we always touch on this, with any community building, it requires resources. So in order to give support, we need some support. We've always had our Giving Tuesdays, the second Tuesday of every month. But recently we've started trying to be a bit more transparent about the goals of that, what we're looking to achieve with the funding that we're collecting, and putting where that's going. And it's going to be an ongoing initiative within the community. But we always invite your generosity. What you guys are able to financially contribute helps this bridge reach farther. It helps us expand our mission. And again, this isn't about guilt. This is about us all working together with the resources we do have. So if it can't be financial support, show up, participate, give your ideas, come to our events, our Sunday sessions, our new member house party, our trigger warning conversations. We have so many things going on. There's so many different ways to participate in the community. But we always want to keep this community accessible and sustainable. And to do that requires funding. And I'm just thankful we are in a place and in a community where we can be transparent about what that is and what we need.
Well, and that's what we're here. Like, again, we're building, that we're looking for resources to continue building, and those resources can be assistance, help. If you have something you're good at, we would then want to donate your time. That would be fantastic. If you have money you want to pitch in, and we can use to resources. We can have help people establish watch parties in their local
Yes.
areas to build more local communities. We can fund local meetups for local chapters. We've got a couple of local chapters that are starting
Really?
sprout.
Yeah, I, like, honestly, the local chapters are something I'm always very excited about. We've been developing them and shaping them.
Mhm.
You guys have already heard so much previously about Bridge City, California, previously SoCal, but also we have Bridge City, Florida, we have Bridge City, Alabama, and we're expanding every day. We got some cool stuff in the works. So again, the Giving Tuesdays, the financial contributions, and just participatory events, these events, these items are not about guilt or trying to manipulate you to like some higher reasoning. This is it. This is the community, and we ask for your support.
Ask.
It's just
a normal, regular ask.
So though we don't have a supernatural reward, I will say you'll make me and Jude smile, which is
we will smile a lot.
a lot. Yeah, so that's, it's something. But honestly, we want to be honest about where we're coming from always, and support the mission that matters. Honestly.
The other thing you could do to help is you could do all of the YouTube things. Remember,
yes,
like on your way out, share, subscribe, comment
hype the video.
On the replay.
That's an option.
Yeah.
Hype the video. There's this new YouTube thing. I've seen hype points. I don't know what they are, but just push it. I don't know. YouTube wants so many things.
I have not seen this functionality yet. I'll have to explore that. I'm starting to feel old, Ashley.
I know, me too. Every day, I'm just like, what's that? Instagram?
But yeah, share the replay, because a bridge is only as effective as the places it reaches, right?
So if you know anyone that wants a post-religious community that's looking for that, especially anyone that can benefit from this series. So much of the series promotes self-reflection, introspection, and then acting on it, taking these concepts of extraction and participation and moving them into real world action. So by sharing these replays, you help spread the message of Bridge City, the mission, and hopefully encourage more well-being in the world, because we can't have enough of that. So it's not about having just a sermon, though. Darante, I will say I miss polls. I feel like we all wanted more polls.
The interactive aspect of the last series was pretty cool, actually.
I know. I'm not
probably may bring that back at least once a month. We have one week a month be very much more interactive like that.
It was awesome. But Bridge City is all about having an honest and safe place to think and to connect and to have these kind of conversations. Some of them can be easy. Some of them can be about gardening and funny movies, but some of them can be a bit harder. Some of them can be about the pains you've went through and the deconstruction you've had to do, not just from religion, but from all this culture and world we live in. So share this replay, invite someone to the global campus, come yourself if you haven't yet, start a conversation, host a watch party. I know we talk about this a lot, and I swear if I need to, I'm going to be the one hosting watch party. I'm like, you guys all come to SoCal, because we can hang out in my living room. So please. And if you know somebody that wants to live a life beyond the superstition, invite them to the community. Community is just about connecting with others, forming our bonds. And we all need that as we move through this life. So again, thank you everyone for joining today. This session is powerful. And again, keep the conversation going. We're past guilt, past obligation, and keeping score on who's right and wrong. Right now, we're honestly all trying to discover together. And we have to recognize that sometimes the things that we want to see are things that we actually have to create, that we have to put forward, that we have to show up for.
Sometimes you just gotta do the work, right? And it's we live in such a consumer driven society that you get into the habit of like, oh well, I just gotta support this thing and then they'll do it and it'll just magically happen. And
yes,
honestly, that habit has disempowered us, and we need to put the control back in our own hands and start seeing what it is we can do. And we have a platform here that's that's pretty awesome for that.
Set up to do just that, and Jude, I'm so sorry because I want to touch on something, and I'm going to totally throw us off track right now. I'm so sorry, but you're just like, take it. But no, it's really interesting because you hear a lot about how social media has really changed the way we think and how we consume information. And again, information is your diet. And I think that's one thing that's really great about Bridge City is we don't shy away from the complexity of any issue, of the self, of connection, of relationships, of discussion. I mean, the false binary we all want to put label and everything that just humanity as a whole wants to do. I would say in Bridge City, we're always trying to think in the gray. We're always trying to explore that nuance and that context. And again, just the exploration of diverse perspectives can really help open that up. If you're struggling with something, a concept that you're not able to grasp, especially within this reciprocity series, I can't encourage you enough to join the community and start those conversations. We have people here that want to have them.
Oh yeah, because at the end of the day, we're trying to build participation rather than extraction. We're trying to encourage circulation. We don't want to control. We want like I've mentioned a couple of times before, but like I became the head of the music club because I put my hand up and volunteered to do things, and I just kept volunteering. Until I said, okay, probably makes sense for me to put my name on it anyway.
Well, and also you also said like where your boundaries are, and that's like something that came up early on in the stream that Mark had mentioned and resonated with Darante, is that joining Bridge City and putting forward your idea for community doesn't mean like, okay, now you have to run all these things. Find what fits for you.
Yeah,
check out the lobby.
What can you do, right?
Exactly. What do you feel comfortable doing?
What do you feel comfortable doing? What is it you want to do, right? Like that's one thing that I think we don't touch on too much is we like, yeah, there's lots of things here that need to be done and that we're looking for volunteers for. But if there's something that you want to do, that you say, this is a thing that I would like to see, bring it up. Like we do not have a predetermined linear pathway of what this needs to be. We want more and more people to contribute, and contribution means bring your ideas as well. We're not just asking you to work on ours.
Exactly. And I mean, that's building bridges. It's not bridges. It's not just one. We're going to be building them ideally for the rest of time.
And we're building them so that people can have something to carry forward into their life, right? Yeah. We want you to empower you to have more ownership over your own life and your own work. Is there something that you got from this to think about, something that you need to question, or that you're looking for to question, or something that you want to handle with a little bit more care?
Yes.
Right. We're working on creating a safe space where you can explore those questions and those ideas
and practice those skills. To what you just said, I struggle with moderating my tone to be a bit more caring and gentle, especially in the situation. And I get to practice this every day in Bridge City. So it really is about growth and seeking those connections. So
I know you can, Ashley.
Thank you. So for all of those visitors out there, again, if this is your first time here, we have that free gift for you. Make sure you check it out. And thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Come on back next week. Yeah, let's do this again. Oh, but a small warning about next week. Next Sunday will be Father's Day in the States, and you will miss our live faces, but thankfully Z will be putting together a pre-recorded. So just if you were hoping to talk to us directly next week, it won't happen, but see us the week after. We'll be here.
Yes. Darante will be here next week, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're just not doing the segments, the live segments. Yeah. And moving on, but for returning members who are already used to our chaos.
Yeah, we know very well.
And again, don't let the conversation end here. I love your idea about doing the coffee hour afterwards. We should probably look at establishing that and formalizing it. But for now, we do still have the commons on the global campus. We have our resource board, which has places for suggestions for various things, such as future movie nights. If there's a movie you want to see with the community, that's the place to look for it.
Yes.
We also have a lot of other great things on the resource board, like secular therapy resources, and there's also the birthday calendar where you can add it's optional, opt-in. You can add your birthday month if you want to call out on your birthday.
We also have, I never shout this out enough, but I want to. 2 new boards that came up this summer was the Connections Hub, whereas if you're a member and you're already on campus and you have a skill you'd like to share and promote within the community, that's the place to promote it. And then the Charity Hub. So let's say you have an issue really close to your heart. Like, for instance, I'm going to be plugging a little bit later on that board, a charity that is trying to put up a fight against plastics in our oceans. So that's going to be one that I plug on that board. So if you have any charities you really want to promote, that's the place to do it too.
I'll have to check that one out because I don't think I've seen that yet.
I found out about this week. I need to do a little bit more research, but I'm like, yes, plastics problem. But
yes. Well, I mean, I know that issue. I haven't seen the post of the resource board. I do not spend enough time on the resource board. I should really.
I need to do more stuff with it, but really, we have a lot of great things, and as always, with Bridge City, our values are clear at this point: forward thinking, people centric, life affirming.
And to bring it back to today's stream, right, with Reciprosity, you want to be forward thinking in order to put out what you want to see in the world. Right, because it cycles, right? It goes around. You want to be people centric enough to create a place to grow or establish a place to grow for you and for the people you care about.
Your bonds, how are you nurturing them? That's people centric.
You want to be life affirming to meet people where they're at, right? Where that's
which is hard.
Things that I think that I love about Bridge City is that we don't judge you for not being perfect, right? We accept that everybody is coming from their own place, and we want to build together, but we're not going to purity test. We're not going to nitpick.
That's not what we're about here.
That's not what we do because you can't build a coalition with exclusion. That's not how that works.
No, not, and I will tell you right now, we just don't got the time and energy to personality police. We're here to build. We're here to establish their mission.
As long as you're on board with the mission, then you're welcome.
Yeah. And again, thank you all for being here. And until next time, keep rising and be the bridge.
We'll see you next week.
I don't really need, so glad you made it. Whatever it is you have, just save it. 'Cause I can do proud all on my own. I think I'd rather see cooperation. I think I'd rather be well compensated. I think I'd rather feel appreciated. Hey, yeah, but I can do proud all on my own. I can do proud all on my own. I've bodied these burdens for so long. I've handled these demons on my own. So I can do proud all on my own. I don't really need congratulations. I don't really need, so glad you made it. Whatever it is you have, just save it. Hey, yeah, 'cause I can do proud all on my own. I think I'd rather see cooperation. I think I'd rather be well compensated. I can do proud all on my own. And I can do proud all on my own. I've bodied these burdens for so long. I've handled these demons on my own. So I can do proud all